Welcome to the Meet Crete podcast, where we sit down and talk with people who make Crete run every day. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm one of the creative producers inside the communications department at Crete Carrier. I'd like you to take a look at my guest, please. This is Paul. Paul is a great guy, but he doesn't always think and put safety first. Today we meet Paul Marsh. How are you, buddy?
Good. How are you, Dave?
I'm pretty good. I'm surprised that you actually sat down and did this, to be honest with you. You were kind of hemming and hawing about it in the hallways.
Yeah, you know, these lights are a little intimidating. I'm not real used to lights.
Right. So let's talk about your 2019 taxes. No, I'm kidding.
What about them?
No, I'm kidding. I just figured as long as we have the lights on.
There's really nothing to hide there. So.
I'm sure there's not. I'm sure everything is above board. We'll get to the obvious elephant in the room, which is don't be a Paul. We'll get to that later, but let's find out more about you. How long have you been a Crete Carrier?
I've been at Crete Carrier for just over 11 years. 11
years. So what is your title? What do you do?
I'm Director of Facilities. So anything involved with the facilities, grounds to building new facilities, new buildings, finding new locations.
That comes up an awful lot. People want to know what's going on with facilities. And if I was a driver, I'd want to know, know, what's going to be available to me at my terminal.
Sure.
And I'm assuming with 20 locations, it's hard to keep up with demand for what a modern facility should be.
Oh, you know, I mean, I have a lot of help from shop managers, fleet managers, local personnel too. So I mean, it all ends up working. You know, you work as a team, and it all kind of works itself out.
Yeah, but you're a busy guy. You're on the phone a lot.
I'm on the phone, but
yeah, and a lot of visits to these individual locations and future locations as well.
Sure. Yep. You bet.
So do we want to talk about things that are coming up? But tell me, if you were going to put together a new facility, like, for example, we're looking at a spot in Florida besides DeLand.
Right.
What goes into that? What do you have to do first? And then where do you take over and what do you do?
Honestly, first step is talking to everybody here. You know, you got to talk to operations. You got to talk to sales. You know, a lot of it comes down to where customers are at and what makes the most sense for us, where the drivers are located. So, you know, if you're talking about Lakeland, it took looking at where drivers were, where they're recruiting drivers, and then also where the customers were.
And then you have to start I would assume that it's difficult. You're based in Lincoln, Nebraska, but you're trying to build a facility in Florida, and you've got to get permits and all sorts of stuff to be able to start the process.
You know, that takes then finding, usually, you know, you got to find a real estate agent, somebody that knows the area, can help you find property in that area, because a lot of times those properties aren't necessarily listed or out there for you to look at. They know some of the local people who might have property for sale. From there, you move into finding engineers and architects. And, you know, a lot of that comes from that local market. You gotta end up working with people that know that area, know what the rules, regulations are. Because, you know, you got standard things across the country, but you get into certain localities and everybody's got their own twist and their own.
Whether it's water or power and
exactly
zoning, whatever
you do with the land, the property, you got to meet local code on that.
What did you do before you came here?
Prior to being here, my background's construction, worked for an electrical contractor, worked for an electrical distributor. My degree is in construction management, but was always kind of on that electrical side prior to coming here. But, you know, when I was in college and growing up, did different jobs as far as framing houses and building and, you know.
Where did you grow up? Where did you frame these houses, and why shouldn't we move into those facilities?
A lot of those were right here in Lincoln.
Is that right?
A lot of that happened when I was in college, but originally grew up in Omaha and then came down here to go to college and been around here ever since.
Very cool. Day to day, what's the most difficult thing for you? Is it dealing with people in another state? Is it trying to keep? It seems to me, I could be wrong, but it seems to me your job would be very difficult to keep everybody happy.
Yeah, I mean, Honestly, yeah, it's hard to keep people happy on a day-to-day basis. Just try to do the best I can to keep the majority happy. You know, there is a lot, you know, whether it's temperature of the building, temperature of the water in the showers, whatever it may be, you try to keep 95% of the people happy.
And upgrades and upkeep on what you currently have that you're not
Sure.
replacing. That it's got to be very time consuming as well.
It is, but we get it done.
Yeah, and you've got a brand new facility in West Memphis, which, by the way, congratulations. That's a beautiful facility.
Yeah, it turned out good down there.
It turned out really good.
We found a good piece of property there and had good contractors that we worked with. And that goes back to having the contractors, engineers, architects in place that you end up with a good facility like that one.
You have a family?
I do. I've got married with 4 kids.
4?
4.
See, I think you're not a parent until you have 3 kids, but when you have 4, you're starting to reach superhero status. That's a lot to juggle too.
It is. We're busy with kids' events and sports, but you know.
Yeah, like, are you out of the house with sports all the time?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
or something. Yeah,
I mean, felt like an Uber service for the longest time. It's just driving you from one sports locale to another.
Sure.
Yeah,
but you know, right now we're finishing up with baseball and softball, and looking forward to a little break here before football and
it starts all over the
country
fall, yeah.
and soccer and all that starts up again.
You a sports guy in school?
No, I wasn't. Not at all.
Good man. That's for the. I just wasn't all that talented.
Yeah, I'm still not talented in anything that I do.
No, that's not true. As a matter of fact, people have been asking me for the longest time, and then when I started doing this, when are you going to talk to Paul? When are you going to put Paul on camera? When are you guys going to sit down and interview him?
Yeah, this is a little intimidating. Like I said,
come on, it's not.
I'm used to being out on that parking lot and just being told what to do. Here, I got to think of things to say.
I have to say, in the time that we've been doing Don't Be a Paul, you've been really cool about taking direction, not being, well, first of all, you're not a prima donna. That's awesome. Because there's nothing worse than shooting with somebody who all of a sudden goes, but don't you get it? I'm Paul. You know?
Have I not said that a time or two?
Yeah, but I don't know. You don't mean it, though. You take direction. And what's really great is, I would say 60% of what makes Don't Be a Paul funny is stuff that you come up with in the field.
Yeah.
Do you have a comedy background? Where does that come from? You just screwing around?
It's just me.
Wow. Between my writing and your acting.
Couldn't come up with a better combo, could you?
I know.
We should go on the road.
We could. Well, we should take Don't Be a Paul on the road.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. First of all, you wouldn't wear a seatbelt, and I could yell at you for that. And then what is your favorite Don't Be a Paul?
Boy, I got to think back a little bit. You know, honestly, probably the some of the ones that got commented on the most were just those first couple where we're just catching people off guard with these videos you were putting out there.
Yeah.
You know, those probably got some of the most comments that I remember getting on any of them. You know, just because it was something that hadn't been done before, and here we were out there putting these videos together that really weren't run of the mill, I guess, kind of that straight and narrow video. You know, we were screwing around a little bit and didn't know how that was going to go, I guess.
I know my backstory, but how was that presented to you? Because the way it was presented to me was, we want you to put together safety videos. We want you to make them funny. By the way, you have to include Paul Marsh. So they had already talked to you. How did they approach you with this whole thing?
Honestly, it seemed to me like it was more joking around than it was like, hey, we've got some things we need to look at. We've got a few things that somehow we need to get a message out to the employees. I think it should be Don't Be a Paul. And honestly, that kind of went on for a year or so with everybody
that
saying,
long?
oh yeah, it was probably that long. And just kind of back and forth. And when we'd look at different instances, different things that had happened, it would be, individuals saying, we really need to look at this, and, don't be a Paul really seems to fit. And I just kind of sat there and, okay, whatever. And next thing you know,
we're doing it.
So
when I brought you the copy for the first one before we ever shot it, did you think this was going to work?
I figured it would work.
You have more faith than I did. I was producing.
I mean, just looking at it, I thought, well, knowing a little bit about you and some of your background, reading through it, I was like, all right, he'll be able to do something.
Well, I knew I could make it funny. I didn't know if I could pull off the whole, bringing it back around to being safe and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
What I was also worried about is, because I never worked with you, I knew you, but I didn't know if you would have the range enough to be deadpan serious like you typically are, but also funny, but serious in the appropriate places and that kind of stuff. And it really worked out well, I thought.
Yeah.
And still does.
And, so asking what I do on a day-to-day basis, some of my duties do involve safety.
And I was getting to that, yeah. And they take it very seriously around here.
And safety is serious. You do have to take it seriously, but sometimes I think safety is portrayed as almost beating you over the head with it. And in some ways, you gotta make it engaging. You do have to lighten it up just a little bit. Otherwise you don't get the buy-in that you want. If you're just if people feel like they're getting beat over the head with it all.
Sure.
So I think that helps with some of the videos too. Is just adding a little bit of humor to it, or making it a little less serious. But hopefully through doing that, you're getting more engagement in it. People aren't just watching them going, well, this is boring, or this is.
But if you could help me out, because I don't want to explain this to people over and over again, so I can just send them the link from now on when they ask these questions. The two questions that I have are, but are you really serious about safety at Crete Carrier?
Sure.
Right?
100%. Yeah. Safety's serious, I mean, number one principle, but, I'm a broken record when I'm doing safety calls with a lot of the shops, or I'm out visiting the shops, and truly it's, we want everybody to go home the way they came that day. I mean, and safety is for the employee. So you want to get that employee buy-in. It's for the employee. It's not for me. It's not for you necessarily. It's
yes,
not,
yeah.
I'm not out there doing it for me. I'm out there doing it for the employee to get home to their family, their friends, and I mean, there's a cost to not being safe, and that cost is different for everybody. And, everybody's a lot better off if the employee comes to work the next day.
I agree. And I think too, this sounds super serious for what we're talking about, but I think by injecting comedy into these Don't Be a Paul things, we're actually doing a greater service for our employees, because those messages will stick better.
Yeah. You're right. People think about it a little more when they're going, oh, I didn't zone out when I was watching that 3-minute video. I actually remember this goofball doing something on a video that I shouldn't be doing right now.
All right. Speaking of goofballs, that brings me to my next question. I'm trying to be as respectful of you as a human being as I possibly can in this, but at the same time, it's a lot of fun to drop boxes on you or make you fall and call for an ambulance or something like that. Are you offended by has there been anything where you're just like, man, this is going to make me look stupid?
Well, no, the answer is no. I just go with it. I find ways to make myself look stupid anyway. So
I'm pretty talented in that regard as well. Is there anything in Don't Be a Paul that you'd like to do?
I mean, there's some that we could do, Dave, just from what I see on a day-to-day basis. But
yeah, but can you make them funny though?
But can you make them funny? Because some things that we run into
not that funny.
Serious, aren't that funny. So
yeah, and that's hard too. Safety can be pretty dark too.
Oh yeah, yeah, it can be. So
People literally get hurt. So
right, and you don't want to make anybody feel like you're necessarily making fun of them or the instance or the incident that happened.
Right.
Either. So, but like you're saying, a lot of our videos are reactionary. I mean, they're usually due to a trend.
When you see a warning sign, somebody's already fallen into that ravine because they did something stupid, right?
Yep.
So yeah.
Right.
Okay, when you get done with a day of shooting and don't be a Paul and putting in the fabulous work that you do.
Let's just make sure everybody knows this isn't every day that we're out doing this.
No, I'd like it to be though, to be honest. But when you're not doing that, what are you doing when you're home? What kind of guy is Paul? What do you do?
Honestly, I'm running around chasing kids around. I mean, a lot of it is right now. It's going to sporting events, taking kids to different events. If I can get out and go fishing a little bit, I'll do that. Usually that's with the kids again, but
right.
We do a lot as a family, and pretty much everything is with the family outside of work.
How much time would you say that you spend outside? Because I know that you're an outdoors guy anyway.
Fair amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're outside here a lot.
I always say, sounds good. I wish I could sit and watch TV all weekend long, but I sit down for about 30 minutes and I'm thinking about something else I need to do or go or do something else because sitting around's not really my thing, I guess.
That's pretty great. Pretty happy that you came over. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer with your background and your college training and everything, but have you been happy about your decision to come to Crete and what you've been able to do?
Yeah, sure. Crete's been a great company to work for. Look forward to working for them for many more years. And, a lot of it's just coming here and seeing friends every day. I mean, even you, Dave, I consider you a friend. So,
thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. I think I've lost track, but we're somewhere around. I think we're right around a dozen. Don't be a Pauls.
Is it that many?
Yeah.
I guess I didn't realize it.
So if we hit 24, we should do something.
Man, that's
we should road trip, or we should I don't know. We should have a fiesta or something like I don't know.
Maybe we could go down the road with me just hanging off the back of a trailer somewhere.
Well, that would be unsafe, Paul. No, Paul, no. Don't do that. Man, I really enjoy being able to tell you off when you're not in the room. Just recording that voiceover. It's so much fun because I know you're going to take it the right way. And you always stop by my desk and you're the first one who gets to see it before it goes out for approval or whatever, because I want to make sure that you're happy with it.
Yeah.
And you've always been great about it. And I really appreciate all the time and attention that you've given that project.
Yeah, you bet.
And thanks for sitting down and doing this too.
Hey, once again, a little nervous about all these lights you got around here on me, but
we'll do it in the dark next time, Paul. That'll be fascinating television. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Paul Marsh, everybody. Well, thanks for listening and watching the Meet Crete podcast today. And if you clicked on a link to get here, just a reminder, you can find all of our podcasts, weekly updates, and more on the Crete Carrier YouTube channel. We'll be back to find out more about the people we work with inside of Crete Carrier and Schaefer Trucking in the next episode of Meet Crete.